I'm gonna tell you about the safety issues maybe I had during my journey in Iraq and what I think about the safety here in Iraq. So I just want to make sure I don't pretend to know anything. That's just my experience. I'm not an expert in safety in Iraq, so that's just my opinion. Warning, my friends, once again from Baghdad. Well, I did not expect to do the next video in Baghdad, but I'm in Baghdad. So just to explain you quickly what happened between when I was in Mosul and now. So after Mosul I went back to Slemani to retrieve my bike, which I had left in a Dolphin Hotel. I retrieved my bike, I put it in a car, and I drove with a private taxi from Slemani to here, Baghdad. So now I am here in Baghdad and I have my bike in Baghdad. And after here I'm gonna put my bike again in a car, and they're gonna drive me next week. Someone is gonna drive me to the Jordan, to the border with Jordan, where hopefully I can resume cycling, because I don't wanna cycle here in Iraq. It's probably too dangerous. It's also very hot. The way to the border is maybe 600 kilometers. It's mostly only desert, so no cities, no place to recharge, no anything. So it's probably really would be not smart to cycle this part. So just to make sure also, this is gonna be, I'm not gonna show you anything in particular in this video. It's gonna be mostly a talking video. And it's gonna be a talking video because on my way from Mosul to Kirkuk, after Mosul I wanted to go to Kirkuk, and I had a very unexpected adventure, which made me think that as more and more people are going to Iraq nowadays, as I have been in Iraq since already 3 months, a bit less than 2 months in Kurdistan, a bit more than 1 month here in Iraq, in the southern part of Iraq. So I guess I have an interesting experience for all the people who want to come to Iraq, as more and more people are coming to Iraq now. And I wanted to talk about the safety actually, because what happened to me between Mosul and Kirkuk is related to safety. But before talking about this issue I had on my way to Kirkuk, I'm gonna replay all my journey across Iraq, and I'm gonna talk about safety all the way according to what I felt, according to what the people have told me. I'm gonna tell you about the safety issues maybe I had during my journey in Iraq and what I think about the safety here in Iraq. So first I arrived with my electric bike, as I am traveling around the world with an electric trike. I arrived from Turkey in Zaho, so in Kurdistan. So then I got the visa on arrival at the border, very easy. Then Zaho was perfectly fine. Then from Zaho I headed to Duhok, and there are actually big safety concerns in the Duhok governorate, because for me I didn't have any safety issues, I would say, when I crossed the Duhok governorate from like Zaho to Duhok, then Duhok back up in the north to Amedi, and then I went from Amedi to Soran and then Erbil. But approximately 1 month after I cycled the Duhok governorate, well, when I was there, it was already some fights between the Turkish army and the PKK, because basically in the Duhok governorate the PKK is hiding in some villages. I heard about it because I had the high school students I met when I was in Duhok. At some point they offered me to go to a village, and then the next day, and then I said, "Yo, yeah, okay, yeah, it would be very nice to visit a village in Kurdistan." And then the next day they text me again and they told me, "Well, actually we cannot go to this village because it's dangerous, because the PKK is hiding in the village, and the Turkish army is launching airstrikes against the villages where the PKK is hiding in Kurdistan." So okay, so we decided not to go. Well, I decided not to go, and then 1 day later the students I met sent me images of films of the village where we were supposed to go, that was basically burning, and because the PKK was there, and just the day we were supposed to go, or very close to that day, the PKK, the Turkish army launched an air attack against the village, and the village was in fire. So that gives an example of how well things are not that safe for traveling in the Governorate. As long as you stick to the main axis and the main cities, it seems it's fine, because the PKK uses the small villages to hide. But yeah, it's a war zone basically. And another thing about the Duhok Governorate, which is important to say as well, is that so about a month after I cycled through this region of Kurdistan, the Turkish army started really a land attack, a proper war with land soldiers against the PKK in this region to get rid of the PKK somehow. And about 2 months after I cycled there, actually a Danish cyclist was killed in the region. He was killed on I don't remember the name of the village. I will look for it. I will put it on the screen. It was like 2 Danish guys. They were cycling along on a secondary road along the Turkish border in Kurdistan. So it's not at all a road I took. It's a secondary road really very, very close to the Turkish border, in a valley I did not go to. But it's like a road going from Zaho to Ahmedi, I think, but by along the Turkish border. And what happened is that because of the war going on with the Turkish, between the PKK and the Turkish army, the PKK is putting landmines in villages, really like in populated areas. So it's very well. It becomes very dangerous. Well, they cycled on a landmine, so they rode so very close on the side of the road, very close to the road. One of the 2 cyclists, Danish cyclists, rode on the landmine. The landmine exploded. They were both injured. One was more injured than the other, and the one that was more injured, very sadly, died. Later on, died. So if I had known that, I would probably not cycle again through Kurdistan, honestly. Duhok Governorate, so I went all the way from Ahmedi to Soran, then to Erbil, and Erbil and then from Erbil to Slemani. Erbil to Slemani, it's another issue. There is no war going on there. There is no PKK. I never heard anything about that. While before, when I was in Ahmedi also, I had some people telling me about the PKK hiding in some villages in the valley. So it was really not, you could really feel also that something was wrong in the region. So I did not stay long in the region basically, but it was probably not, well, I made it through, but it was obviously not a safe area to cycle through. And then the other issue in Kurdistan was the road from Erbil to Slemani. The main roads to go from Erbil to Slemani go via Kirkuk. But because Kirkuk is not inside what is controlled by the Peshmerga, but the Kurdish army, then I was forced to go via a much narrower road that is controlled by the Kurdistan, because I had only the Kurdish visa. And then this road, basically to cycle, was like really, really dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Because it was very narrow, the cars drive very fast, people just don't want to brake, they want to drive as fast as they can. When they overtake, they don't care if you're coming in front of them. So it's really... on the other roads in Kurdistan, it was fine. It was... if it was many cars, the roads were wide, so I had enough space on the side. Or if it was a narrow road, it was not many cars. So I never felt really in danger. It's only in this road, which was narrow and with a lot of cars, a lot of trucks. So extremely dangerous in terms of road safety. But except that, in terms of safety, I would say that especially in the cities, even in the countryside, regarding people, I never felt unsafe in Kurdistan. The cities are super safe. You can walk around with your a lot of money in your pockets, with the camera in the hand. Absolutely nothing is going to happen to you. People are very welcoming. So the main issues in Kurdistan, it's rural areas. If you want to drive there with a car or with a bike or ride a bike, be aware that the road from Erbil to Slemani is extremely dangerous, and be aware that there is a war going on between the Turkish army and the PKK in some region of the Duhok Governorate, especially close to the border. And so this area is absolutely please just don't go with a bicycle or don't go with hello, huh? Phil, salam alaikum. Huh? شلون منيح
منين انت؟
يا فرنسا
فرنسا اهلا وسهلا.
شكرا.
شنو هاي؟
ها؟
تصوير
فيديو.
فيديو؟
يا
حلو. ايش العراقي؟
عراقي اوكي. شكرا. Basically, some parts of the Duhok governorate are dangerous because of the war going on. So you should, if you want to go there, really try to know what's going on, if the war is still going on or not, and you should know really that, well, especially for cycling, it's very dangerous now because if there are landmines around rural areas when you cycle, you go through rural areas. So better to avoid it. It's sad because people are very nice, but that's the situation now. Okay, I'm done with the first part regarding the safety in Iraqi Kurdistan. Now let's talk about safety in mainland Iraq. So first, then I flew from Erbil, I went back to Erbil, flew from Erbil to Baghdad, so I get the proper visa for the entire country. Baghdad, if you've seen my first video, it's quite impressive the first day because there are many checkpoints everywhere. I think the way I went, I walked a lot on my first day, and I went where it was a lot of government buildings, a lot of military. So it was very overwhelming for me. I was not lucky. I met a policeman who shot it at me. I think for no real reason, but so I had a bad first impression. But in the end, it was quite wrong because if you go to normal areas where you don't have like government buildings everywhere, well, there is military, there are checkpoints, but not that many. The policemen are very friendly, and yeah, it seems for me, honestly, it looks completely fine in terms of safety here in Baghdad. Yeah, honestly, I feel very safe. There are checkpoints everywhere. It's just that, just don't probably try to avoid filming the army, and you will be fine. If you don't want to film, if you just come, honestly, Baghdad seems really fine to me. That's just an impression. Back down, back south to Najaf. Najaf was the same in terms of safety. It seemed really fine to me. I was a little bit cautious in near the shrine of Imam Ali because actually just the day I went there to film, I was probably not lucky, but it was a demonstration. I think pro-Palestine and against America and Israel, and so I could not understand. He was screaming slogans in Arabic, but I could hear several times America, America, and they did not seem very friendly towards America. So that's why I did not film too much close to the shrine, just in case. But honestly, I did not feel any. People were very friendly as well. I did not feel any safety concern. Then I went to Nasiriyah. For a long time, I was not allowed to go as an independent tourist. You had to have a contact inside the city to go through the checkpoint before entering the city. Oh my God. Salam alaikum. Huh? Camera.
وين؟
Huh?
وين؟
When? After 1 month.
اه
Huh?
باكستان؟
فرنسا.
فرنسا. اقول هذا مو باكستان،
ها؟
ابيض حلو.
Welcome, shukran. Okay. So, always friendly people interrupting you here. Okay, and just to explain also, so my journey in Kurdistan, I traveled with an electric bike, and my journey across Iraq, across all the southern part of Iraq, all the Arab part of Iraq, I traveled all the way independently as a solo traveler with like shared taxi. So I did not have any guides, did not have. I just got information from the Iraqi Travelers Cafe. It's a Facebook group, but except that, I did everything independently. So Nasiriyah, but in terms of safety, honestly, I didn't see any issue. Well, it's hard to know. Sometimes you just don't know. Maybe there are issues and you walk through. But to me, it felt safe. Then I went to Basra. Basra seemed very safe, also no problem. It's the heart of the oil industry in Iraq. So I guess that's why it's it's very protected. So honestly, it felt very safe. I got food poisoning though there, and I was struggling to. I usually eat street food, and I was kind of struggling to find clean food in Basra. In terms of safety, Basra looked very safe. So then after Basra, I went back to Baghdad. Back up to Mosul, and Mosul is another story. Okay, where do I go? Yeah, so Mosul is another story because it used to be the capital of ISIS in Iraq. So Mosul. Okay, let's just say what happened. On the first day, after I arrived at the hotel, they were very nice. Then I did not film on the first day. I went around the whole city to check how it was, and honestly, I did not feel super safe on the first day in the whole city. At first, it was completely fine. It's just it's all destroyed. But then at some point, I was walking around. Some kids were playing. They asked me where I'm from. Well, I said France, and so then they talked to me in Arabic. So I keep walking because I can't understand anything. But then as I was walking away, they started throwing stones at me. So, well, it's not very welcoming. And I don't know. Then I met some other people who were fine, but I don't know. Not at all. With some people, I had a weird feeling. When I was saying I was French, with some people it was like, popular. You could, I don't know, I had a feeling that some people were not happy to see me. So when you know the story, when you have this feeling, and you know the recent past of the city, it's a little bit uncomfortable, I would say. Maybe it's just because people are sad, because the history of Mosul is horrible, what those people have gone through is absolutely horrible. So probably it's just because they are sad because of what happened to them and in the last years, and that's why you have this feeling of you feel uncomfortable. But basically, that's what I felt. I was feeling kind of uncomfortable in Mosul. Maybe it's just the history, but I don't know. It was weird. So I don't know if it's safe or not. Honestly, I will not say like Baghdad or Basra for me look. I have really the impression that it was very safe. Mosul, I have a different impression. The war is not far. Basically, if you west from Mosul, thinking around Sinjar, there's still some fights. ISIS is still there, and there is still the war going on with ISIS. And on the other side, which actually is something I had no idea. I will go back to what I was gonna say at the beginning of the video, which is after Mosul I wanted to go to Kirkuk, to go to a last city to do 1 or 2 videos. The easiest way was to go to Erbil and then to Kirkuk, which is what I should have done. But I thought, to avoid the hassle of having to change taxi, let's just get one taxi straight from Salam alaikum. Let's just get one taxi straight from Mosul to Kirkuk. And then they took a road south of Erbil, passing by a few villages are called Mahmour and Dibaga, and actually in this region, which is just maybe 50 kilometers south of Erbil, but actually in this region there is still a war going on. So I ended up, because I did not know, so that's also why I'm doing this video. If I had known, I would have done something different, but like south of Erbil, in Mahmoud, Dibaga, and like about 50 kilometers, there is still war going on. It looks like it's still against Daesh actually. So it's really an area where you should not go. Actually, I ended up in a very bad situation there. But yeah, so then I took the road south of Erbil, passing through those villages. And basically on the road, at let's say 2/3 of the way, close to the village of Dibaga, where just before a checkpoint we saw like some military cars coming back from in the middle of nowhere, coming back from the bush. So it was a little bit weird, you know. And then at the checkpoint, 70 kilometers from Kirkuk, basically the army did not let me through. They say to the driver of the shared taxi, no, he cannot continue. They didn't explain why. but I think it's because it was on the road that we were gonna go through. It was a war going on. So it's very bad that I ended up in this situation, because then what they did, which is also very bad in my mind, and then I felt very good. And then I felt in trouble for some time. The driver of the shared taxi got rid of all my bags, of me and my bag, and they put me in a truck, and they told me, you go down at the next crossroad and you go to Erbil. And that was all. It was like they kicked me out of the shared taxi, and now you hitchhike in a truck and you go to Erbil. And it was like, what the hell? I mean, I'm in the middle of a war zone now, and you kick me out, and I have to hitchhike. So I guess it was very weird, because I mean, obviously I was probably in danger in the shared taxi going through these roads. It was probably even more dangerous to put me to let me on the road to hitchhike a ride on a truck, I don't know, in the middle of a war zone, and then get dropped at a crossroad in the middle of a war zone, and to get back to Erbil. So it was very weird. Actually, I was stopped. Yeah, I forgot to say, because on this road, at some point you are in Iraq, but at some point you cross a small area that is controlled by the Kurdish army, and then a few kilometers after, you re-enter Iraq. And when I got stopped at the checkpoint where I was gonna re-enter Iraq, even though I had the proper visa. So that was very bad. And so the truck driver was very fine. He dropped me at the crossroad on the road to get to Erbil. And then it was a taxi there, a Kurdish taxi, and I could get a private taxi to Erbil. But then I decided, I don't want to go to Kirkuk, it's too much of an hassle. So then I decided I'm tired of dealing with the safety issues, and I just go back straight to Slemani. Because actually I noticed also when I left Mosul, that all the time I was in Mosul. I don't know if it's just my mind, or maybe this first meeting of this kid who starting throwing stones at me after I told them I was French. But I was very stressed when I was in Mosul, because nothing was showing it was dangerous, but I don't know, I had a bad feeling in the city. So yeah, I was very stressed in Mosul, and when I left Mosul I realized that I was very stressed, and I had this issue on the road to Kirkuk when I ended up dropped in the middle. Assalamu alaikum. Habibi. And where I ended up being dropped by the Iraqi army in the middle of a war zone. Yeah, it was a very bad situation, and in the end nothing happened, but it was very bad, and I felt in danger even though nothing was happening. I felt in danger. Well, I knew it was a war zone later on when I talked to people in Slemani, but I don't know, on the moment still you can feel things. And there I could feel that it was something wrong, and that it was really not right. And that's why I wanted to make this video, to make that other people who come to Iraq don't make the same mistake. Don't go through this area of the land. There is still a war going on there, so avoid this part, avoid this road, avoid this region south of Erbil, because there is still a war going on. That's it for my video about my feedback or my experience on safety traveling in Iraq. It's an incredible country. People are extremely friendly, extremely hospitable, but it's still, even though it's opening to tourism, I think more and more people are gonna come, but it's still a country where you have to take some precautions in some areas, because there are still some war areas with Daesh around Mosul, so west of Mosul, around Sinjar, where nobody goes anyway, and also east of Mosul, which was more surprising to me, east of Mosul and south of Erbil. And there is also the Duhok, the northern part of the Duhok Governorate, and all the valley of Amedi, which is still dangerous because there is a war going on between the PKK and the Turkish army there. If you Iraqi people or Kurdish people have some corrections to make, please feel free to comment and correct what I've said and what is not right in what I said. And yeah, that's it. That's my experience. in Iraq in terms of safety. And if you come to Iraq, enjoy your journey. It's a beautiful country, people are wonderful. It's an amazing country. It's an adventure to travel here, but it's an amazing country. Okay, ciao.